Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back with Barry Carl. Excited to have him here as a sexological body worker, also a certified core energetics practitioner, and so much more. He'll help you heal trauma. We're going to talk about couples. We're going to talk about relationships, and of course, expanding pleasure, listening to your body, your wants, your needs, your desires, your sound, your breathing, your movement, all the above. Barry, why don't you say hello to everyone now?
Wow, that was great. I want to take you around with me everywhere, just have you introduce me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My name is Barry Carl. I am a sexological body worker. I'm also a core energetics practitioner and a certified couples counselor. And today, I want to talk about couples and intimacy and how that works and how I work with couples.
Perfect. Before we start, just want to point out, I know you're based out of New York, but you work with couples, people everywhere. Just tell us how we can get in touch with you.
You can get in touch with me through the website heal.me. If you just look up Barry Carl, Barrycarl, or I'm going to buck the odds here. You can text or actually call me. Some people do that. 917-863-1950, or use my web address, barrycarl@gmail.com.
Perfect. Well, pleasure having you here. And yes, today, the conversation of couples. We'll talk about getting
Couples.
intimate, the weirdness of couples, the good in couples, the bad in couples. Where would you like to begin?
Oh gosh, where do we start? Okay. Well, working with a couple is a lot more than working with one person. There's always way more than just two people in the room with you. It's all of their history and their connections and everything else. And most often, couples come in hot. I mean, the couples, when things are going well, two things happen. First of all, nobody wants to rock the boat. Don't bring up anything uncomfortable because like we're in a good patch here. So shh. But then when it does, it drags the kitchen sink in with it. So um and sex and sexuality are a huge part of being in a relationship,
Yeah.
hopefully, of being in a couple. And um people get together for all kinds of different reasons and find out about themselves and each other through the relationship. So couplehood is also a continually evolving process. People change, and there's some pernicious stuff in our culture that discourages change. One of our pet fantasies about romantic love is that I will love you forever and you will love me forever, and it's just going to always be the same as it was the day we met. And we make these kind of promises to each other, which are kind of not reality based, but we
Okay.
often do our best to fulfill them, but we change anyway.
Yeah.
And as our bodies change, our needs change, our wants change, our desires change, and couples typically have a very tough time with change, um, because really acknowledging change means that you have to completely recalibrate your relationship with your partner.
Yeah.
If you've changed, if they've changed, if you both changed, well, that's a lot of change to keep up with. And it can happen over small increments over a long period of time, or it can happen like boom, one day somebody wakes up and they're like, I've changed.
Yeah.
And the partner goes, uh, uh, great. Or maybe, no, you're not supposed to do that. So
Yeah.
either way, it causes stress.
True. Yeah.
So by the time a couple materializes in my office, um, they're usually pretty raw. They're in crisis. They're scared. And that usually doesn't bring out the best in people.
Hmm.
So people that come in are usually in survival mode.
Yeah.
They're in some version of survival mode. I had a couple once that they were in such deep crisis that they were sitting out in my waiting room, and I could hear one of them screaming at the other.
Oh,
So like they were sitting in my office, and I had to like leave my session, go outside and ask them to either bring down the volume or wait outside until their turn came. And by the time their session time rolled around, um, one of them had lost their voice
oh,
just from screaming at the other one. So
yeah.
I think one of the big mistakes that intimacy coaches make and couples counselors make as well is they try too soon to get the couple to understand each other and get along. They're not in get along mode when they come in. They're every person for themselves mode. They're in holy crap, this is an emergency mode. And they're not going to compound. They don't feel safe with each other. And intimacy pretty much demands um, a couple of presuppositions. One is trust, and the other is safety. And both of those tend to go out the window really quickly when there's upset in a couple. So the first job before there's any talk about intimacy, because intimacy is, even if they're fighting about intimacy, it's the last thing that they want to be involved in, uh, unless it's some version of makeup sex. But there's still a lot of ground to cover before you get to that. Um, Makeup means making up for something, right? So all the something has to happen first. Um, so, but the couple, in any case, still has to be down regulated. They have to be calmed down. They both have to feel safe enough with me that they can even look at each other. Whether we're talking about intimacy coaching or I mean, what am I saying? Couples counseling often kind of boils down to intimacy coaching anyway, because um, we're not taught how to relate to each other on an intimate level. There's, I don't know of any classes uh, that aren't extracurricular that that people can take um, so that they can communicate successfully with their partner about their wants and needs. And talking about their intimate wants and needs is even scarier than talking about money, than talking about how to raise the kids. I mean, that's the trifecta with couples. And I'm talking about all different flavors of couples, whether you're in some sort of formal relationship, sanctified by the state or not, doesn't matter because the dynamics are fundamentally the same. Um, so when we're talking about intimacy, a lot of the friction that happens between couples comes through some sort of change, and they don't really know each other anymore like they thought they did. Sometimes there's a physical change. Somebody gets sick, somebody gets injured, somebody gets depressed. All of these have an effect on libido and sexuality. Sometimes um, there's a libido mismatch. One person wants sex more than the other, and that causes a lot of friction. Uh, but couples really don't know how to address this stuff. They usually end up fighting. Um, and it's not stuff that gets resolved in a fight.
No.
What usually happens is that couples feel farther away from each other rather than closer together after a fight. So I mean that's has to do with how they fight, because most couples do. But I'm not my function isn't to get people to convince them to somehow get along. It's to help them find compassion for each other and find a way to speak to each other in ways that the
Kindly.
other, well, kind is a good start. Kind is a good start. We
Hmm.
might end up with kind. People, we tend to model our relationships on whatever we grew up with, whatever we saw, whatever our parents did is our template. Fortunately, if you had great parents who got along, unfortunately, if you didn't.
Yep.
So what people tend to recreate unconsciously is whatever they grew up with. Now, we
Yeah.
do have other options,
Yeah.
but they take consciousness and they take time. So talking about intimacy, talking about their sex life is hardly ever something that happens in the first session, simply because people are usually on their best behavior. You know, they want to look good. I don't
Hmm.
blame them. I don't blame them. So it sometimes takes a few sessions for them to come off of their best behavior, maybe even have a fight right in front of me. And so it's like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. Okay. Um, but that's not my favorite work to do. That's sort of putting out the flames of a plane crash so people can get out of the plane. I'm talking about taking something good and making it better. This is the part that most couples don't stick around for.
Yeah.
Because when couples come in and they go, we have a problem and we got to solve this, um, I put on my problem solving hat and we come up with something. And usually, whenever the presenting issue, the thing that they came with, is addressed and hopefully successfully resolved, they don't want to do this anymore. They don't want to come and they don't want to, open their hearts and do the hard stuff. And part of that is the way we're enculturated. You know, everybody sort of gets the short end of the stick
Yeah.
because men are enculturated to not show their feelings, particularly, to deny them when they have them, and to never talk about them. The paradox here is that how, and I'm talking right now about cishet couples, but this can apply to any couple. Okay, the in a cishet couple, the woman geolocates her partner by getting into how he's feeling.
Yeah.
How are you feeling is one of the more important questions you get asked in the course of a day,
True.
because your mate will either be able to be closer to you or farther away from you by how you answer that. The problem is so many men in our culture have not been brought up to be conversant in their feelings. It's like
Yep.
they're supposed to be these big, solid, breadwinning, stolid, uncomplaining, single-minded he-men,
Mm,
heroes. Uh,
exactly. He-Man. I love it.
and
Yep.
right. So, and then they get in a relationship, and almost always one of the first things that their partner wants is to know how they're feeling. And they're stumped. And a lot of misunderstandings arise from that. Like their partners say, why won't you ever talk to me?
Hmm.
Why would you tell me how you feel? Why do you hold out on me? They're not holding out.
Hmm.
They don't know how to do it. So a big part of intimacy work is actually becoming emotionally fluent. And you might not have wanted to hear that, guys.
Emotionally fluid. Yes.
Right. To,
Yes.
to, to develop a vocabulary for your
Hmm.
feelings, to notice that you're having them and give them names. I'm not talking down to you guys. This is a problem.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm just being honest. So that's that is a crucial developmental part of being in a couple that has to get caught up, because without some form of emotional communication, it's going to be stumbling at
Mm-hmm.
best. And where this particular glitch shows up the most is in intimate conversation, in people getting the courage to tell their mates what they like,
Mm-hmm.
what they want, how they feel, without their mate somehow feeling criticized or alienated
Mm-hmm.
or defeated or shamed. This is a really, it's a very juicy, lovely, delicate process, uh, and it works. And I think it works best in a situation in which a couple can touch each other and speak to each other and have a facilitator present. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that I'm going to watch a couple have sex. That is not what this is about, and that's not what I do. That having been said, many couples don't have a working knowledge of their partner's erotic selves.
Yep.
Um, One of the things that I offer clients, or prospective clients actually, is a free call before we ever get started. And on my website, it says 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I try to hold it to that, but I don't stop there if there's something going on that I can help with. So sometimes my free introductory calls run,
Becomes.
they become a session.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to let that happen, but sometimes it does.
Yeah.
For instance, I got a call from a lovely young couple, and I don't think they had spoken with each other before the female member of the couple reached out to me,
Okay.
because all of my contact had been with her, and she didn't mention a partner. So I get the call, and there are two people sitting there. And so I'm, oh, okay. We
Hi.
can, hi,
Hello. Yes.
we can do this. What's your name? But when I said they hadn't talked to each other, I don't think that she had divulged the nature of the call or what she wanted to her partner. So she sandbagged him
Wow.
on the call. And she was very charming, and she was also very direct. And she said, "Well, I said, what are you hoping for? What do you feel like you need help with?" She said, "Well, I've realized that I'm kinky, and I want to explore that, and my partner doesn't."
Wow. And he was like,
And yeah, exactly, I looked from her to him, and he was just like,
mm-hmm. Okay.
he was just like, so that got a little complicated, uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because they had never spoken about this before. You'd
How
think
did it?
that there might have been a conversation about this
Yeah.
before the call, but knowing couples, that didn't surprise me.
Okay.
It made me sad because I knew that what was going on over on the other side of that was tremendously difficult.
Yeah. Not
And
feeling comfortable enough to talk to your own partner to express your wants, your needs ahead of time. Like yeah, it's sad, but I'm
it
hoping there
is.
is progress. Like,
Um, I got to tell you, I got to be honest. We got through the call, but they never booked a session.
mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like a real propitious,
Yeah.
opportunity. Like if they're not talking to each other
Yeah. How are they going to talk
at
to another
all,
third party? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's going to be even tougher with a third party. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's necessarily easy
Yeah.
with a third party. Once again, it's not different from individual work in that a relationship has to be built. There
Yeah.
has to be some level of trust. Um, it's sometimes it's tough being an individual therapist working with a couple because the same sex partner uh, feels like he in this case has an ally,
Mm-hmm.
and the female partner can easily feel ganged up on.
Yeah.
I've noticed the same thing in reverse when it's a female therapist and a hetero couple.
Mm-hmm.
That the female woman feels like she has an ally and the man feels ganged up on. So impartiality, that may sound cold-blooded, but it's really
No.
necessary. Nobody. One of the cornerstones of this work is that nobody gets more than 50% of the blame in a couple,
Mm-hmm.
unless one partner is like a secret serial murderer or
Mm-hmm.
has borderline personality disorder, something like that. People contribute,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't see their contribution. And even if the incident that brings them to me was the act of one person,
Mm-hmm.
um, they're always or nearly always contributing factors uh, that have to be kind of combed through to clear the space for them to be able to feel safe and trust each other, which is ultimately what we're going for. You know, when couples come to me for work, um, they almost always take their chairs and set them straight so they're both looking at me and neither of them are looking at each other. And I usually make them turn their chairs so they're talking to each other and I'm just in the room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a switchboard.
Yeah.
You know, couples, you'd think that couples, talking to each other would be a matter of routine. And it
Yeah.
often is when it's like, a dozen eggs and a quart of milk. Um, this stuff gets hard. This
Mm-hmm.
stuff gets hard. Um, we're all carrying shame uh, to one degree or another. And sometimes we let that just take us underground. Sometimes we um, labor to contour
Yep.
what we say to each other, how we
Mm-hmm.
say it, uh, and usually get it wrong. When when your partner's scared,
Yeah.
and when you're scared, some part of you is in survival mode.
Yeah.
There was a great self-help book that was written in the 80s by a guy named Jerry Jampolsky, and it was called Love Means Letting Go of Fear.
Okay.
And he said that love and fear cannot coexist simultaneously in the same space.
Wow.
You, so what we're doing with intimacy work, aside
Mm-hmm.
from guided and facilitated touch and talk, is leaving the fear state and entering a place of expansion and love and caring and gratitude for the other. But that doesn't happen, you know, like that. I wish it did.
Yeah.
If it did, I'd give it to everybody.
Aw. You're so kind.
Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah. All of us. Come on. Let's live our best life. Be the happiest we can be and love one another. But you also have to learn how to love in ways that they want to be loved, right? So there's also about compromise. There's a lot with couples and compromise, right? People feel
Compromise,
they
the
shouldn't have
big
to give
C.
up or change, but compromise is not change. What would you define that as?
Well, I don't know. I think that compromise can be changed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you're the one who's being asked to modify or change something for your partner,
Yeah.
but it also has to agree with your basic nature. Change or a compromise, let's just use that word, compromise, um, is great to the point where it puts you out of integrity with yourself. I mean, there are certain points past which
Yeah.
one may be able to compromise or one may not be able to. And we need to be in reality about that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're so busy being the perfect partner that you lose yourself, what do you gain?
Yeah. True. Well, thank you for enlightening us, for being here. We still have 2 minutes left, Barry.
2 minutes?
Yeah, go figure, right?
Yeah,
Things go quick.
we could probably cure cancer.
I know, right?
2 minutes. What are we going to do with our 2 minutes?
Well, you're going to tell us how we can reach you. We know that you offer a free consultation, a free call.
I
Maybe
do.
just share some of the other services you provide.
Well, that free call doesn't carry any obligation.
Yep.
I want to make that really clear.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get you're not going to get hit on. You're not going to get hit on for money. You're not going to get hit on to sign up for something. I don't do that. The reason for the call is for us to get to know each other a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and see if we can work together.
Yep.
There's no other way that I know of except being in the same space
Yeah.
uh, to figure that out. So insofar as is possible, um, my time is precious, your time is precious. Let's figure out if we're a good fit before we commit time and resources.
Sounds like a plan. Barry, Carl, how
I
can we
think
reach
so.
you?
You can reach me at heal.me. Just type in my name, Barry Carl, BARRYCARL, or you can email me at barrycarl@gmail.com, or you can text or call me at 917-863-1950.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being here, for talking about couples and what we have to go through, and to know that there's help, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Compromise. We got a lot done today,
I
Barry.
hope so. I
Thank
hope
you.
so.
I think
Thank you,
so.
Jill.
You have a fantastic day, and looking forward to the next time we get to speak. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.